Hello, Northaven family. My name is Julie Reeves, and I have the pleasure today of interviewing our Director of Communications, Ariana Taylor, and asking her a little bit about who she is, how she found us, and what her life is all about. So, Ariana, first of all, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're very happy to have you. But my first question is it's kind of a multi-point question, so I'll start with the first two. Where did you grow up, and what was your favorite subject in school?
Yeah, so I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. Majority of my family's from Detroit, and so it's a big part of how I grew up and just who I am today. My favorite subject in school, I would say in high school, was definitely newspaper class. That was the class that I like skipped some of my other classes. I would go to the newspaper class. So that was for sure my favorite.
Cool, cool, cool. Um, so if I were to ask you this question and uh, what led you to the college you picked, and what college did you go to?
So I went to Michigan State University. That's in the capital of Michigan in Lansing, well, East Lansing, but in that area. Um, I chose Michigan State to be completely honest with you. I think because most of my friends had chose that school. And so that was just the school that I ended up going to. But it was all still God led because I met so many people who are still my friends, some of my best friends today, and they even live in Dallas with me now. So it was probably one of the
Nice.
better decisions I made in life.
That's fantastic. That's well, speaking of friends, then I guess my last question on this little piece would be when you think about your circle of friends, what do you think what top two things do you think they would admire about you the most?
I would say the top two things, I don't know if they admire this first one, but they do bring it up a lot, is the fact that I can be very, for lack of better words, extra. So I'm the person that's going to decorate for like the Super Bowl or like something like a small gathering. I'm the person that's gonna bring the karaoke machine to game night. Like I'm the person that's always like getting everyone else in the spirit and making people feel just more involved in our friend group. And then also, I would say a lot of people always tell me that I'm very loving and like caring of other people. And so I think that's just another big part of who I am. I just always put others first, and I'm very sensitive to other people's needs.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, great answers. So, since you've come to North Haven, what's been your biggest surprise about the job or about the North Haven family?
The biggest surprise I can answer, I guess, in two ways. The biggest surprise about the job is honestly just the me. I just when as soon as I came to North Haven, I just felt able to breathe. I come from a background in news and journalism, and so that's a very like fast-paced, kind of chaotic, very pressured filled industry. And so coming to North Haven, it was just such a big sense of relief to really be like, "Whew, wow, I don't have to like hit the pavement at 8 in the morning." And then I would say about just the church in general, I was just very like taken aback by just like the pride that everyone has for North Haven. I didn't grow up in church, so I don't know if that's common to other churches or not, but for me, like
Mhm.
just coming to a place and seeing everyone just devote so much of themselves and just like wholeheartedly love the church they go to, I feel like you really don't see a lot of that, especially today in today's times.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Um, so we're going to stay with a little bit more of the job, and then we're going to segue into a little bit more personal stuff so we can get to know you on a personal level. So I guess my last question about the job would be this. What one thing or two can North Haven members do to support you better in your job?
I would say the biggest thing I could think off the top of the head would be grace, is to just if we could
Mhm.
extend more grace to each other. No one's perfect. And I think, sometimes life happens, or, things just don't occur how we want it to occur. So I think if we just have more grace to each other, I think for me at least, it would make the job a little bit easier, especially coming into like a new position, and this being my first time working in a church environment. But I would say grace.
I think that's great. And that's a really important point that we share with folks who are listening to your interview, that this is the first time in the history of Northaven that we've had a full-time director of communications. So we're blazing new ground. We're sort of defining it as we go at times. We're redefining it when we need to. And I appreciate your patience with us, and hopefully you can help us as we take this journey and bring this job into full fruition for the benefit of Northaven and for you. So thank you for that. All right. Well, let's go to a few little more personal, get to know Ariana questions. What do you feel most grateful for in your life?
I would say just knowing that I have God's hand over my life, knowing that the path that I'm on right now is like for sure the path that God has set out for me. Because there was a time in my life where I had no idea, and I'm still young, I'm only 25, so I'm sure more times like that will come, but just coming from a place of just not knowing what was going on and just feeling very lost in life, it's very reassuring to know that like this is where God wants me, and this is where I'm meant to be right now.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Great answer. So give us a couple of ideas of what's your passion? What are your favorite hobbies?
So I would say, I don't know if a lot of people know this about me, but I'm really, really into fashion.
Oh, really?
I love fashion. I love clothes and dressing, accessorizing. I had to like rein myself in a little bit because I can get way too deep into shopping and spending too much money. But that is like a big hobby of mine. Family and friends, they like call me all the time and say like, how would you style this? Or what should I wear with this? Like I just styled my sister's birthday outfit. So I just love fashion.
Nice. So when you think about your life, all 25 years of it, what brings you joy?
I would say the biggest thing, I've always been a people's person. So I think right now, like the biggest thing that brings me joy is really, really being able to love people and make people feel seen and heard. And maybe that's why I went into a job of communicating with people and telling stories. But that has just always been a deep passion of mine. It's just making sure people feel loved and heard when they're around me.
Right. That's a great answer. So I know you mentioned that you didn't grow up in church, and I think that's not unlike many people at Northaven. Actually, there's a good cross section of those of us who did and those of us who didn't. But when you think about the Bible and the stories that you know in the Bible, is there a particular story that sort of speaks to you personally, or maybe has impacted, or you feel is impacting your life?
I would say the story of Hannah comes to mind. Hannah, who was the mother of Samuel. I think, and I just read her story recently, maybe that's why it comes to mind, but what really sticks to me about her story is that she was in desperate need of something from God. She was in desperate need of comfort, of provision. And I think a lot of times we can kind of, as Christians, we can kind of like put this like blanket of Jesus over people. And it's like, oh, just pray and have faith and believe and everything will be fine. And it's like, as humans, we have real emotions and we can't just ignore the feelings and emotions we have. And I think the story of Hannah shows that very clear, where like Hannah wasn't eating and she wasn't worshiping God with the rest of her family. Like and that's real, to have that type of anguish in your life when you're not hearing from God, or you just kind of feel like kind of feel alone in whatever you're through. And so I think just the way that Hannah felt that anguish, and then eventually she still felt a little empowered to at least pray at some point. And it was then when she was like kind of at her lowest and was praying that God kind of answered her and like reached out to her and provided her with her son. But and even the Bible says like I think it said something like in process or in due time or something like that. Like she didn't have the provision immediately after praying, right? It came at their time. And I think that's probably one of the more realistic stories of the Bible.
Good point. Good point. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we will close our Northaven Voices interview off. How is your career different than you would have imagined? Or how is your life now that you're in Dallas, not Detroit? How is it different than you might have imagined?
It's completely different, a complete 180. I don't think I would have ever dreamed that I would be where I am right now. And that's not to say like I've just like reached all my goals and I have it all figured out, but I think just to be in a place of contentment and just actual just joy and peace, which are like a lot of things that you really receive from God, you know. But I think for me, I just never imagined to be here. You know, I went to school for journalism, so I thought I was going to be a reporter and a sports reporter. And, you know, I always wanted to come to Dallas, but it never worked out for so many years. I had kind of given up on me being able to move to Dallas at some point. And so for all of this to kind of turn around and for me to be in a job, in a position where I feel welcomed and just I feel just able to be myself is a plus. And finally being able to come to Dallas after, you know, dreaming of it for so long. So yes, a 180 for sure.
All right. Well, that's great. That's great. Well, Ariana, thank you for your time this evening. Thank you for being a part of the Northaven family. We cherish you and we appreciate you. And I hope you feel that every day. And if you don't, then we need to do our job a little better. So thank you very much, and have a good evening, and thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.